Okay, I think I have it right. So let's see. Y'all start waving at me when you get on. It's sideways. I know, I'm live again. Let me see. Okay, I think I have it right this time. Sorry about that, guys. Nothing like the first time here. So, okay, I can see you guys. I can see it now. I think it's straight. Y'all go ahead and start commenting if you're having problems seeing it. Okay, I think we're good. So, my sister's over here helping me, and it is right. So, yay! Thank you, Lynn. Much better. That is exactly right. I'm going to get started in just a few seconds. Again, I'll go back and kind of re-say what I was saying. I'm Carmen Brunson from Carmen Brunson Designs, and I have been an artist for 18 years. I have 2 children. One is 21, a daughter who is 21, and a son who is 15. I have been literally painting and drawing since I could breathe, probably. And I'm so excited to be here sharing with y'all some of my talent, and I hope that you'll enjoy this class. A big, huge thank you to Lindsay Ostrom, who organized all of this. She is an amazing woman. She's written several lettering books that I have, and I've actually taken one of her lettering classes. We've been connected for a very long time, back when snail mail was the only way to communicate, and I ordered her books, and I remember her writing me this sweet little letter saying, if we could be together, closer together, we'd probably be crafting buddies. And I'm so glad for social media, because now we can be crafting buddies on lives. So it's so exciting to be a part of a group like this. So I hope you get a lot out of all of the artists, and including myself. We enjoy what we do. We do this for a living. So we really appreciate all of your support. I've posted the links to my website in the beginning of the live. So if after the live you want to reference or go visit that site, please share the love. I'd love to, connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, and of course my website. So if you have any questions during the live, I probably will not see a lot of your comments. So just ask the questions. If I see them, I'll try to. This is really my first time doing a live paint tutorial. So if you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments, and I will get to them. But you can also watch this as a replay. Lindsay's going to leave these up until the end of December. So if you need to just reference back to the videos, if you don't get something, you can always rewind it, stop it, pause it, whatever. They'll be up until the end of the holidays. If anything seems to glitch, I will re-record it and post it in my units. So after this recording, everything will be in the unit. Mine is Unit 7, Gnome for the Holidays. So if you have need to reference it after the fact, or you come on late and you can't watch it right now, you can always go back and reference it in the units. So again, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move all this out the way. This is what we're going to be painting. It's a gnome. I get this wood from Lowe's. It's already pre-cut, and it's just a plain board. If you ordered a kit from me, I've already traced this on for you, and I've already included your eye hook in the top. So you won't have to do all of this part. But if you do not have the kit and you went out and purchased your own supplies and cut this wood down to the sizes that I had in the supply instructions, what you're going to do is take and tape. I cut mine out. This was actually the printable that I uploaded to the classroom. So you can just go ahead and cut him to the size of the board. This is just literally a piece of, I think, either poplar wood or pine wood. They sell these in Lowe's in the finished wood section. They come on probably a 3-foot board, and I actually cut them down on a miter box. So I make all of these by hand. But I've taped my gnome printout to the top, just like this, and secured it. And then I want to make sure that his body lines up with the edges. You don't want him kind of hanging off. So what you're going to do is you're going to take and use your graphite paper that I had in your kit, your supply instructions. Again, if you ordered a kit from me, you do not have to do this part. This step has already been done for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to take a pencil and just trace over my design just like this. And you know, even as an artist, I'll design something on transfer paper, and I will, if I have to do a lot of them, I will actually use my own design tracings to, you know, mass produce stuff, because it just takes so long sometimes to freehand it and get it to size and proportion to whatever you're painting on. So I just go ahead and make myself a template and start tracing it on, because it just makes life so much easier. So I'm not going to sit here and trace this whole thing because, you know, to save time. But that's basically what you're going to do, just like I'm doing here. Just trace over it, and when I pull that graphite paper, you see you have a gnome started there. So I'm going to push this one to the side because, you know, for time's sake. And we'll go ahead and get started with the actual gnome. So, and what I'm going to do is paint the outer edge, the background. And I'm going to just use like this round brush, and I think everybody, even the people that bought a kit, you have like a round brush, or you may have a flat like this. So either way, you can use either one. And I'm going to go over here to my paint. I'm going to move my little gnome over here to the side so I don't get any kind of paint on him. And then we're going to put my little palette right here. I think you can even see my palette. So now, to get the gray background, you're going to learn a little color mixing here. So we're going to take our white paint, and we're going to mix a little bit of white over here, and then a little bit of black, and that makes gray. Now, you want to make this a little bit lighter because his body is going to be gray too. So we're going to kind of lighten this up to a light gray. And then the body, of course, we'll add a little more black to make it a little darker hue, and then we'll make that body a little darker gray. So I'm just going to go in here with this flat, and I'm going to go and just just block in all this background color here. And I can't see, oh, I do see the comments. So,
We got a couple people still tracing.
oh yeah, y'all are still tracing. Y'all are. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just speeding on ahead. Well, I can just slow this down. I know Lindsay wanted us to keep this to an hour, so again, you can go back. I'm just blocking this in. While you're tracing, I'll stop and look at the comments and see if I can get you guys to help you guys if you have any questions.
Yes, you do need water.
Oh, you do need some water. Yeah, I do have my water over here. Sorry. I'll put this, excuse this. This is ugly. I use this water basin all the time. It's horrible. But yes, you do. Yep, still tracing. Sorry, y'all. I'm just like taking it really fast here. You're the last one. Oh, Lindsay says I'm the last one. I can take my time. Yay. Okay, well, good. We got all night, y'all. It's Friday. We got all night, so I'll go ahead and block this in. If you're still tracing, just keep tracing. We're good. I'm just going to block it in so that I can get mine filled in ahead of you. But trace on and then block in your color. Make sure you don't paint over his body though, because you kind of want to, you don't want to lose your tracing. Let me go back through here while y'all are still, I am able to see your comments, so I'll go back through here. I'll slow down just a little bit. I am a little nervous. This is my first time actually doing a paint tutorial online. I've done them live, so you can hear people talking to you when we are like in person locally, but this is the first time I've done this live. And of course, live is the way to go these days since COVID has us all trapped to our houses. So, life in pajamas these days. But oh, good. So, hey, Angie, you're finished tracing. Thank you so much. Okay. Okie dokie. All right, well, if you're through tracing, you can go ahead and start blocking in that background color. That's basically what I'm doing. And what I did, if you're coming on late, we've already traced the gnome, or some are still tracing, and I'm mixing a little bit of white and a little bit of black to make gray. So that's how you make gray. Did you say? Oh, no, actually I did not sand the wood first. The wood I'm using is from Lowe's, and it's already smooth. This is smooth surface wood. It's pine wood. And you could, like I said, you could buy this. It's a 3 foot, I buy mine in a 3 foot strip, and it is already very smooth. The only thing I probably do sand is the very top edge right here. This part is a little rough sometimes, so I will take a little piece of sandpaper and maybe run across that. But no, it's pretty smooth, the wood I buy. Now, if you buy something other than what I have here, you may have to sand it, and you don't have to prime with these acrylics, just because they're gonna, it acts as a primer. It's you don't have to do any of that. Now you can, I did not send sealer with the kits, but you can put like a little varnish after this is completely dry to seal these. You can put a little varnish, but they're going to be indoors hanging on a Christmas tree, so you don't necessarily have to seal them either. So let me see if I'm missing any other questions. You can paint your block gray and then transfer the pattern. I'm doing it this way mainly because a lot of people got the kits and I pre-traced it for them. But yes, you can do that. I will tell you, sometimes the graphite paper does leave a little bit of a residue. So you will have to fight with that and probably go back over with your gray if you paint your background first. Typically, I paint my backgrounds first, but because of the kit, that people got in the mail, I was trying to teach it how they could go in with a brush and just paint and block in around the gnome. So yes, you can paint your background first if you want to do it that way. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, we almost got this done. The next thing I'm going to paint after I paint this is his belly. So we're going to darken up this gray. And now I'm going to teach y'all something that I learned a long time ago. It's a side loading technique. You take and just mix your palette, you mix your gray the color of the background that you have, and then you just side load just a hair into that dark color right there. And what I'm doing is a shading technique, and I'm moving my brush back and forth just to get a little bit of that shading right there on that left side, if you can see that. And what I'm going to do is just take and put a little shade just to make this gnome pop a little bit. And I'm going to continue putting a little bit of that shading just like this, back and forth. Get the paint, work that paint into the brush. And if you're using a flat brush, a round brush, you can do this same technique with this round brush. You just get that color like your background, and then you side load just a hair with that black. And you're going to go in and just, I don't know if I can get it dark enough here. And you're just going to put in a little bit of that dark color like this around the edge, and it just makes him pop off. Makes him pop a little bit, gives him a little definition. And I'm going to do it underneath his feet here for some shading and shadows. That's just another little technique that I do. Okay. And I do it all the way around. I just like to have him pop out. See, I did it on this one just a hair. I don't know if you can see it. He's got like a little hair of shading right there. So, and again, what I'm doing is I'm just taking that base color and I'm side loading the left side of the brush, working it in. And you've got the lighter color on one side and the darker color on the other side, and you're just using that left side and dragging it around just to give it a little hair of shading. Okay. All right. Hope I'm not moving too fast for you. Hey, Cade, you can do it whatever you think. And like I say, y'all, make this thing your own. I do the shading. I do mine all the way around. You can do it one side or the other, like if you want to use it from, like have a light source, or have a light source visual coming from one angle to the other. However you want to do that. Even if you're doing this without a kit and you want to make this thing a whole nother color, be creative, because this is your art, and you may have a better idea of color than I do. So yeah, I always encourage to make a piece of art your own, but this is just how I do it. So yeah, you can shade it however you'd like, just at the bottom. That's fun. If I could get, hey Brenda, so your hubby's cutting it out for you. That's great. I wish I could get my hubby to cut mine. Okay. Yeah, I'm a do-it-yourselfer at my house. My husband swears he's going to come home one day and the buzzards are going to be flying around, because I run a miter box and a sander, and I've got the skill saw. I mean, I just got it all going on out there. So, okay, I'm going to go in and do his little belly. So I'm still going to use like this little small brush. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to a smaller brush to do that. If you have like a round brush or a flat brush, a little small flat brush. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going back into my white, and then I'm going to grab the black. Now I'm making this a darker hue of gray here, okay? I want it to be a little bit darker than my background, because I want it to stand off of the background. And then I'm going to go in here and just paint in between his beard. If you go over the beard, it's no big deal, because you're going to paint over. That beard is going to be, we're going to use a finer line brush to do that beard. So I'm just going to paint in between the little creases here where... And the reason I'm painting his belly first is because the beard is going to wisp up over his belly. So you want to get that background, as much background pieces painted as possible, because you got to remember you're going to be laying color over that area. I hope y'all can see this. Let me know if I get off. Sometimes I'm so used to painting stuff in my lap sometimes. I usually take it off the table, so I'm not used to being on camera here. So y'all holler at me if I get too low here. Okay, what brands of paint do I use? I use all of them, but my favorites are Folk Art and Anita's. I have to look that up. Hold on just a second. Okay, there's one called Anita's. I don't know if you can see this. I like this brand, but I have my favorites in certain colors. Like, I don't care for Anita's white, but I like Folk Art's white. So you just have to kind of, learn which colors work best for you. But I use a Folk Art brand for the nose, that skin tone color. I like the Folk Art brand. But I really do use a lot of different brands and mediums. So I just say play with what works for you, because you'll find your niche with your paint. And everybody, some people like certain brands, and once you start working with a certain brand and it starts working for you, you certainly don't want to switch. So okie dokie, getting his belly done. Everybody's still good. Okay. Now sometimes you may have to use your little narrow brush, and that's what I'm going to right now, is my little narrow brush, just to get into the creases right here where we're a little bit tight. And sorry guys, I am a color mixer, so if I really and truly don't always use, if you ask me what color I'm using, sometimes I've tried to keep this particular project basic, but I mix color. I love mixing color. Sometimes I'll throw some brown in my gray, because I love brown gray instead of blue gray. I'm not a blue gray girl, but for this class, I tried to keep it as simple as possible. Thanks, Amy. Oh, can I slow down a bit? I will. I'll slow down. And you can watch the replay also. You're going to be able to rewatch this, because I'm going to save this in the units. So if you're worried about losing, the place where we are, just keep in mind that this video will be saved into the units, and it will be available to you all through the holidays. So how are y'all coming? Everybody's doing pretty good here. Hey, Laurie. I see you're watching me. You need to do one of these. So is everybody doing their Christmas shopping online? I bet. My husband's got packages coming to the house, and he told me not to look. We've had like 3 or 4 packages delivered this week. It's funny. My husband's not a shopper, but he's been shopping on Amazon. I think it's kind of funny. Who else has started their Christmas shopping? I think we should all just make handmade items for everybody and be done with it. Support handmade this year, y'all. Go buy handmade. This, I'm gonna let this dry for just a second, and then I'll move on to the next, because I know I'm moving kind of fast. So, but the next thing I'm gonna paint is his hat. His hat is gonna be red, the red color that I put in the kit. I'm rinsing out my brushes, and I'm a big stickler about not leaving my brushes in the water. And then also, while I'm waiting on you guys to catch up, I generally will squeeze the water. So I'm just gonna give y'all some tips of things that I do. So I'll squeeze the water. I don't know if you can even see this. I'm gonna scoot this over for a second. I will literally squeeze the water out of my brushes, and I rinse them really good, and I roll them and squeeze. And I like to roll my tips of especially my round brushes, because I like to keep that point. So I take it out of the water and I roll them, because you want to keep the shape of the brush. And they will last so much longer if you take care of them. But I will literally just squeeze the water just like this, and then blot it on my towel. So that's a little tidbit of something that I do. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that. Well, you need to try to teach online. This is not, I mean, I'm a nervous wreck, really. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm getting better here. It's all starting to level out. But yes, if you teach, you need to teach online. Right now, it's the only way to teach, pretty much. I mean, we can't teach in person. And I'm used to doing the paint parties live. I usually travel to people's houses. And I have done them, locally here in our town. But we can't do that because of COVID. So, online is the way to be right now. So, and I'm going to be offering some classes on my website. So if you guys like this class and you want to take another one, eventually I will be putting a few more on my website. So on my Facebook page, I'll probably be doing lives. And I've sold kits this time because people just don't know what to go out and get. And quite frankly, you can't find anything in the store. I went to Hobby Lobby and they were sold out of paint. I about panicked because I had all these art kits to mail out. But you can't find, Walmart was sold out. Hobby Lobby was just about sold out. So I think, because of COVID, we just can't get the supplies. So I thought it was a good idea to get the kits, because I think there's probably a lot of people in areas that can't even get the supplies to do this stuff. You just cleaned yours, Carol. Yes, always clean your brushes. Thank you, Donna. Oh, good. Thank you, Carol. That is so sweet. Well, make sure you follow my page. If you want to do the live classes, that's where I'll be posting them on my Facebook page. There's a link to the inside this video here, this live. I put it at the top of the link. So once the link posts to the unit, you'll be able to see the link to my page. So you can go there and follow it. And if I do a live there, you can certainly join. So, okay, are y'all ready for me to move on? I'm going to go on and move on to the hat. I'm gonna put some red on my palette here. On my paintbrush. I'm gonna go back over this and smooth this out just a little bit. I'm a little picky, and I'm not telling you guys. I'm sorry. I probably needed to say this. I'm putting this nasty water thing in front of me again. This is my water basin, and it is horrible because I literally paint 24/7. But what I'm doing is I'm dipping my brush in the paint and I'm loosening it up with water. So if it's too thick, loosen it up. And I get it a little juicy like this so that it kind of goes on real smooth. So I didn't want to show you that little water basin, but basically that is what I'm doing, is I'm adding a little bit of water and getting it a little soupy, not too soupy that it's so thin that it doesn't cover, but that it smooths out and makes it smooth. So I'm sorry if I left that step out, and then you can just go back and smooth things out. And another thing, acrylic paint is wonderful. And I only work in watercolor, acrylic, and of course colored pencils and pens, but because I'm not patient enough for oils. Oils take way too long for me, and I'm way too impatient for that. But acrylic paint, so if you make a mistake with this, and just let it dry, you can literally just paint over it. If you screw it up, no big deal. Just paint over the whole entire thing and start over. It's, that's the one good thing about acrylic, is it's very, very forgiving. Oh, and I didn't say this either. I keep thinking of things that I haven't told you to do. But paint the sides. I'm going to go ahead and do that too while I've got my paint in this gray, is paint the sides. And if you wanted to, sometimes you can paint the back, but I generally just will let mine dry completely. After I get through with the whole entire project, let it dry thoroughly. Then I flip it over and paint the back, simply because as messy of a painter as I am, I generally will get splotches of paint all over the back of my project, and I just wait and paint the whole thing when I'm done so that it looks really neat and finished up. So I'm painting the sides now just to kind of finish the edges. So if you want to do that too, sorry about that, guys. No, Carol, I don't have any colored pencil classes. I sure don't. That's not a medium that I really work in a whole lot. I do some, but it's not my primary. My primary medium is acrylic right now, but I do paint and I do draw in colored pencils. I'm just all over the place with art. I do digital, graphic design, anything. You know, as an artist, you have to wear a lot of hats to make it work in this career. Pink soap to clean. No, I just use, no, Bonnie, I don't use clean, I've never used pink soap. I just use like dish liquid, usually when I rinse my brushes out, or whatever soap I can find. And then I will just basically, I'll put the soap in my hand and I'll swirl the brush around in my hand and get it soap, you know, clean it out with soap, and then rinse it. And then of course, pull that tip back straight. So that's how I clean mine. So if you've got some tips on that, do share, because I'm always up for any kind of knowledge like that. Yeah, Brenda, there is no paint left. None, not one piece. It was horrible. I went into a little panic because I had already posted that I would get art kits, and I was like, oh wait, there's no paint. A jelly plate. Amy, you'll have to like expand on that. What's a jelly plate? This plate that I'm using right here is just a styrofoam plate for my palette. Yeah, Jessica, no, I'm sorry, Vanessa, yes, I am a messy painter when I'm literally covered from head to toe in paint. So yeah, I get paint all over me when I'm working. That's part of the process. Sometimes I think my clothes get designed more than the actual project I'm working on. So, okay. Make sure I got his whole body, his whole side here painted. Okay, so I'm gonna go on and move on to the hat. Again, if you are a little bit behind and you're waiting, just for the sake of time, I'm gonna keep moving, but you can rewatch this video. So if you're just popping on, just realize that you can watch the replay. It will be up until the end of December. Lindsay's gonna keep them up all through the holidays, so you can watch your Hallmark movies and you can paint and just craft with your friends. Get your children, get your girlfriends, drink some wine, just have a good time. So y'all can rewatch this video till the end of the holidays, and all of the other ladies that were involved too. All of our videos will be available till the end of the season. So it's our little holiday gift to you guys. So. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm using just a round brush here. If you don't have a round brush, any small brush will do. I've got the Filbert in some of your kits that you guys purchased. There is a small flat, a smaller flat than this. There, you can use that. Let's see, and I love a Filbert. This is a Filbert brush. It's got like a rounded edge. I don't know if you can see it. It's not a flat. This is a flat. This is called a flat brush. And I don't know if you can tell, but the tip is literally like boxed in on the end. A Filbert has like a little bit of a round oval. That's good for making round circles and things like that. That my favorite brush, absolutely my favorite. If I have to pick a brush, a filbert is it. But right now I'm using a round brush to just block in this red color on his hat. Yes, it is. I mean, Carol, you can't live without a filbert brush. I just can't. I love my filberts. If I had to choose one brush, it would, well, actually two. I'd have to have two brushes, but a filbert and a liner. I can live with a filbert and a liner. A fine liner. So I'm just blocking in his hat with a little bit of red. If you overlap that pom-pom thing, no biggie. We're gonna paint over that. Just try to keep a little steady. And what I'm doing is just putting a little bit, I watered my, I put a little bit of water on my brush and I thinned that red down because my red is a little thick. That folk art red is really thick. So I'm just gonna like block in this color right here. And let me see. I'm just filling in his hat. Now, all of you, well, everybody's traced it. So what you're gonna do is when I get to this crease right here, before I go all the way down, because I see this crease right here, I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of black. I'm just gonna dip. Can you see? Yeah, you can see. I'm just gonna side load again, because I love side loading. And I'm just barely touching the tip of my brush into that black and pulling it back over to my red. You see that? And now I'm mixing it, and you still got this shade. You see that shading effect going on? And I'm just gonna shade right here where that crease is in his hat, okay? And then you're just gonna blot your brush off, and I'm blotting it on a paper towel here. And then you're gonna go back in with pure red and just kind of blend that back up into the hat, okay? Just like that. And we're gonna do the very same thing here. I know I'm teaching shading, and that is a little more advanced for you. So for you beginners, just paint the hat red. But I just wanted you to know this shading technique that I do, and I just kind of barely touch a little bit of that red, just like this. I hope you can see my palette. I'm touching a little bit of black, and if I can't get enough, I'll see. It's a little bit, see that shading? And then I'm gonna go right here again on this crease, and oh, and the black is towards the bottom, and the highlighted part is towards the top. So you just wanna kinda drag it across with your lighter color on top, darker color on the bottom, because in real life, shadowing is on the bottom or right below whatever the surface is. So, all right, I'm gonna turn him sideways, and we're gonna go in here. And if you overdo the shading, just go back over it with some pure red. Wipe that brush off, go back over some pure red, and just blend. Okay? And I think I missed a spot right there where I didn't put my, his hat kind of droops down. I made the hat kind of droopy. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back in and do the very same thing with the shading technique. Let me fill this little area in. And I'm gonna do this shading technique again. So if y'all are just joining again, I'm doing this little shading technique, and you grab just a little bit of the pure red, and you're gonna just use the left-hand side of that brush, and you're gonna go back and forth just to get a little bit of a darker color with that black, and create a shading, okay? And then right here, where the hat droops down right here, I'm just gonna put a little bit of shading right there, okay? And then I'm gonna put a little bit right here, and then a little bit right here, because my light source is coming in from this right-hand side, so that would make this area over here a little bit darker. Okay, and I'm gonna wipe my brush off again, rinse it off a little bit, and then go back to pure red. And I'm just going to work from the red all the way back into my shading so that it gives it a little shading effect. Okay, I'm gonna slow down here and look to see what the comments are, because somebody might not understand that. So let's see what we've got here. Hey, Amber. Let's see here. Oh, yay. Hey, Karen. Yes, I love the shading. It just makes a piece of art pop. It really does. So, and again, y'all, if you mess it up, don't fret. It is just a piece of art. It's acrylic. We can paint over it. I will tell you this red particularly, folk art red, if I paint over it with a lot of white, sometimes if you put a sealer over it, the red will pull back through. It is a tough pigment to cover. So red is a tough one. If you have to paint over red, sometimes you do have to prime the area. So if any artists are out there and want to share into that little tidbit, red is just a tough pigment to fight sometimes if you have to paint over it. I see where I didn't do my hat like my other one, so I'm kind of going back and fixing it. Okay, now I am gonna have to let that dry. So I'm gonna go on, let's see, are you guys with me still? Everybody's good? Hope I'm not going too fast again. I'm about to paint his nose. So, you know what, I'm not gonna paint his nose next, I'm sorry. I'm gonna paint his beard next. We need to paint his beard, simply because the nose is going over the top of the beard. So we need to paint that beard next. And I see a place that I missed with my gray, so I'm going back in and touching up some spots of mine. And remember, it's not supposed to be perfect. Thank you, Anne. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. I really am. Thanks, Maureen. I'm glad. I just love to pick up tips wherever. I do my own thing anyway. But yes, I love shading and double. Anybody remember Donna Dewberry? Oh, I used to take her. It was what is it called? The one stroke. That's what it was. One stroke. I learned how to do a lot of that through that one stroke process. I love doing that. But oh, good. I'm glad you're having fun, Tammy. Yeah, it is fun. I love painting. Okie dokie. All right, so everybody ready to start that beard? We're gonna do that. And you're gonna be surprised because I'm actually gonna put in a little bit of gray. We're gonna go back to my palette again, and I'm gonna mix just a light gray, not a dark gray. We're not gonna go as dark as his belly. I just realized my belly, let me go back. My belly is not completely, and I'm a perfectionist, so hold on just a second. I'm gonna go back over that real quick. Give me just a second to get him so it can be drying. Not real even. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna go back in and now do the beard. And I'm doing a light gray. I put a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going back into my black and a little bit of my white, and we're just gonna make a light gray color. Gray like the background, yes, and just like the background. Kind of, maybe a little hair lighter than that even. You don't have to go that dark, but what's gonna happen is to get this textured effect on top, when you start doing the white with your liner brush, that gray is what gives it the depth. So we're just gonna go in, and I'm still using my round brush, by the way. And if you might have just a script liner in your kit. If you have a kit, there's a liner brush like this. I think I had a few of these in there. Almost every one of them had at least a script, some kind of a liner or small brush like this. So you're going to just go in, and I'm just going to go around his nose. And I'm kind of just putting the paint down and dragging that brush along, okay? Don't be scared of that brush, y'all. I always tell people, do not be afraid of the brush. I think that's part of the problem. Loosen your hand up and practice your stroking. And with this beard, this is going to be very important. So let me go over that real quick before I finish blocking that color in. With the beard, we're going to get almost a soupy effect. And you're going to just kind of literally press in and lift, press in and lift, press in and lift, press in and lift, okay? Do not be afraid of that brush. Don't press real hard or, act like you're afraid of the brush. If you have to practice on your plate, just get you a styrofoam plate, a plain styrofoam plate. You're going to press in, and then you're going to lift and drag. You're going to lift up as you press in and then lift at the end of the stroke. Press in and lift, press in and lift, okay? So that's how we're going to be doing this beard. And you can start trying that with this gray color that we're putting on here. So I'm going to press in and lift, press in and lift. If you can see me doing that. I pressed in just to go around the edge of the nose, but once you start getting down here near the beard area, we're going to need to lift, okay? If you press in too hard, you might get a blob. Yes, Barbara, yes, we will have the replays up until the end of December, so no worries there. You can just paint along with us at your convenience. This video, right after it ends, it may not be available right away. Sometimes Facebook does take a few minutes to load a live video, but once it's loaded, it'll be still in the feed, and then we're going to move it to the units. And my unit is unit 7 for this class under the Gnome. So all of these classes are under each artist unit. So if you can't find the lives for any reason, make sure you go to the top. In this group, there's a navigation bar, and it has units, announcements. You can look in units or announcements for those things. Found places like at Dollar Tree. I'm sorry, what are you saying there, Barbara? not following that. Maybe craft supplies. I did find a lot of brushes and stuff at Dollar Tree. I was actually amazed at how many things they have. I didn't see a lot of paint though. Wood. Oh yeah, they have a lot of wood at Dollar Tree. They sure do. Plaques. Oh yeah, they have those too. I did see those. They have a great selection of that. Okay, how are we coming on our beards? Everybody's good? And while this paint is still a little bit wet, I'm gonna go on and paint his, the white, because I want it to blend in a little bit with this gray. So now I'm gonna rinse my brush out, and I want to switch to a liner brush, preferably one, you know, each of you should have a liner brush like this. This is a number 2 liner. Not all of the art kits had those exact numbers, but there is a liner pencil, I think, in every one of them. But I'm just gonna make, and what I'm doing here is I like to make my paint a little soupy again, but not so soupy that it's thin and you can't, it fades out. But I'm making it a little soupy, and if you'll notice, I am rolling my brush in that paint. And the reason I roll it is because I like to get my tip back to a point. So once you get it soupy, if you'll roll that brush just like this into that paint and get that tip so that you have a good stroke. So see, when I do this, I have a great stroke because that tip is already back to a point. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to drag from the top of his nose, and I'm just gonna wisp it out. His beard. I see I got a little bit of red right there, and it's kind of bleeding through. But I am just wisping, literally wisping little strokes on top of the gray to get that beard effect. You see how it's starting to look like hair? So keep it very loose. Very loose. I'm gonna turn him sideways, and okay. Everybody's still with me on how to do that? Let me check in here. Okay. And you just have that little hairy effect, giving him a nice little hairy, fun beard. Okay. And I'm gonna do this very same technique to the little ball on his hat. So I'm gonna go on up to his hat. Thank you, Barbara, he is cute. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was not a big fan of the Gnome. I'm not gonna lie. They are very popular. When I went to market this year, I usually, I go to the retail market because I also have a gift business. But I'm always down at market looking at trends and everything. And the trend was the Gnome. Oh my gosh, there was gnomes everywhere. And I will say he's growing on me. It was not my favorite thing. But I know y'all have a lot of gnome. There's a lot of gnome lovers here. So yes, I love him though. I think he's cute. It gets easy, Susan. It does get easy. If you've done it, when you start, the more you paint, the easier it gets. So thank you so much, Denise. That is so sweet. Okay, so all right, now what I'm doing is I am mixing a little bit more of that gray, light gray again. We're just gonna dip a tiny little bit of that black because I just got too much black. When you get too much black, you just add more white and get that thing back to the gray color that you're wanting. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm doing a project that has to have the same color, I will paint the color on the side of my palette so that I make sure I mix a color back to that color. So if you're working on a project that has to have and another thing I do too with colors, because like I said, I'm a huge color mixer. If I have to mix up a batch of color, sometimes I will literally do that, and I will put it in its own bottle. So I'll buy these little plastic containers, kind of like what you guys got in the mail from me if you bought a kit. And I will make up a color specifically so that I don't lose the consistency of that color for that project. So that's just another little tidbit that I do. So, because I'm definitely a huge color mixer. Okay, so now I'm just blocking in this little ball on his hat with a little bit of light gray, okay? Now, I am using a round brush. You can use your script liner, whatever you're comfortable with. You may, the kits are great, good. So you got one, Carol, I'm glad. I guess, I hope everything's working well for you. I was really worried about those things. I said, oh my goodness, I hope they don't arrive with paint everywhere. But I did try to wrap them up pretty tight. So I'm basically taking my round brush and I am swooping out again, just like I did with the beard, but I'm swooping out, and you go in different directions with this hat because you want this ball to be kind of fluffy. So I'm just kind of flipping out just like little hair around on this ball. Okay, just like that. Not perfect. Cotton balls aren't perfect, so pom-poms aren't perfect. So just put a nice little, oh good, Susan, I'm glad you got yours too. I hope it arrived safely. I was hoping everybody got their kit in all in one piece. Okay, so I have this gray blob on his hat, okay? Now, we are going to go to straight white. And I'm probably going to have to put a little bit more white on my palette because I've got so much gray in my white. I'm going to move to another palette. We're bringing this palette in. So, I'm a multiple palette type artist. I have like a million of these little paper plates on my desk at home. And sometimes I save them for color inspiration. I'll see something that goes well together, and I'll just save my palettes. It's a sickness I have, yeah. But, all right, so now I'm going into my white, and I'm going to just soupy up that white a little bit with water, thin it down, and we are going to just do those loose strokes again until I get it to the consistency that I like, okay? You want it to be a flowing consistency. And then we're gonna do just what we did with the beard. And I was looking at your comment, Michelle, yes. Thank you, I'm glad you like that technique. So what I'm doing is I am going to, and I just kind of rotate this little thing all the way around. So I'm gonna start on one side, and we're basically going to just start flipping, just like I did the beard, wisping. I go in one direction first, get more white on my brush, and I go in an opposite direction, just like this. And just get those wisps out there on the edge at different, just kind of go back and forth at different angles. And then block in and get that color on top. And the reason I do that gray is because it does give it a little bit of dimension. And it blends too, because that gray is still a little bit wet, so I'm working wet and wet so that it'll give it that gray, that little bit of hint. You can see the shading in it. Can you see the shading in it? And I love the shading in that. So now, I don't want to overwork that because we're going to put glitter on that, and that's another technique I'm about to show you, but I want to wait until we go to doing the hat because we're going to put some snowflakes on his hat, This was the original. We're going to end up going and putting the snowflakes on, and we're going to put a little bit of glitter on here. I did put glitter in your kit, so if you have a kit, you do have a little bit of glitter in there, and I'm going to show you how to do that too. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to paint his nose, and then we're going to do his feet. Okay? So let's get that going. So now if you've got just a round brush again, or you can use a filbert if you have a filbert. The filbert is wonderful for doing the round nose. I don't know that I had a lot of filberts in the kits, simply because it was hard to find brushes for those kits with filberts, because they don't come in those kits. But we can use the round, so I'm going to just show you the round. I'm going to go back to my other palette, and I'm going to get my nose color, which is this flesh tone, okay? And we are going to go in on his little nose, and we're just going to start at the edge, drag our brush around as smooth and steady as possible, and just work all the way around that little circle. Now, if you want your little nose to have a little bit of highlight and definition, you can do the side loading technique with a little bit of white, and just drag a little bit of white across that top like that, and give it a little shine. Okay? Everybody still with me? Thank you, Ruth. Okay, let's see here. We are... Okay, so we'll let that nose dry for a second. And I will go in and put the line like I have here with just pure white and the dot dot. I like to do that just to make it pop out and look like a little cute cartoonish looking guy. Okay, and now I'm gonna do his feet. And these are just pure black, so here we go. We won't be mixing color here. This is simple here. We're gonna just get, I've still got my round brush, still working with that round brush. Getting my paint, I dipped it in a little bit of water on my brush, and then I'm getting some black and kind of getting it to a little thin consistency, because this black is folk art also, and it's thick. Folk art paints are real thick, but I love working with folk art paint, acrylic paint. So I'm just gonna go in and block in that color on his feet. Okie dokie. Alrighty. And this doesn't have to be perfect either. Just put some little round blobs down there. Okay, now we have to let that dry. My hat is almost dry. It is, I hope y'all's is. Let's see here. Okie dokie. And I did not bring a hair blower. Normally I have a hair blower. I'm not at my art studio tonight because my reception in the country is pretty awful about this time of night. Everybody's home and everybody is on the internet, so I am at a different location tonight doing this. Okay. While we're waiting on the hat to dry, because I'm still waiting on my hat to dry, I'm going to show you how I put the dots on his belly. What I do is I take the end of my brush, or the end of my brush. I'm going to take that label off so that it doesn't leave me a bad mark. And I'm going to just dip the end of my brush into my paint. Y'all, this gives you a perfect circle. I love it. So you just dab it, and I get a good dollop of paint. Make sure there's a good dollop of paint on your palette, and you're just gonna dip it in there. I dab it off to the side just a little bit, and then I go to my art, and I pop, and look how perfect that circle was. And I just do that all the way, and I just stagger them. Every other one. Until I get them all filled in. And this makes doing dots so easy. Some people use the end of a pencil eraser, and that works really good. You can use all kinds of stuff. I don't really like those sponges because it leaves like a ripple effect, so I just like to use the end of a brush like I'm doing here. And just dot him all up on his belly. And that gives us our dots. And now we can go in and I'm gonna go ahead and add his highlight on his nose too. So I'm using the script liner again, that small narrow brush, and I'm getting my paint soupy again and a little loose. And then I'm gonna go to the nose, and I'm just gonna start. Well, let me start on this side because this is going to be wider. Press in, pull, and then lift, okay? Just makes like a comma. If you think of a comma, when you're writing a comma, that's basically what you're going to do with the brush. Same situation. And then I always I'm obsessed with dots, y'all, so I always do the dot, dot. Even when I sign my name, sometimes I'll put dot, dot, dot. I just like dots. So, live in a dot world. Okay, so we've got that. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to, let me check in with you guys and make sure everybody's good. Yes, thank you, Candy. I appreciate that. And Corey. So glad y'all are joining us. If you're joining late, just want to remind you that this video will be offered all the way through the end of December. Lindsay's going to keep all of this up until the end of December. So if you need to go back and rewatch some parts of it, it will be ready for replay probably a couple of minutes after the live is posted. So sometimes it doesn't post immediately right after the fact, but it will be in, and you'll look under units to find this stuff, and all of the artists have theirs saved under the units. I'm just seeing some places that I didn't like, so I'm just going back over. I see where I smeared some red, so I'm going back in and touching that up. Okay, I'm kind of letting this dry a little bit because I don't want to put the glitter on, but what I'm going to do is, you guys, I told you to get a palette knife. I'm going to show you a palette knife. You do not have to do this step. I'm going to do this step just to show you, because if you notice, there's like a little rough edge around the edge of my ornament, and that I do with a palette knife. It just gives it an old world look or a rustic look, and you may not want to do this, so you don't have to do this part. But what I do to do that is I take a little bit, I'm using a palette knife, and I'm taking a little bit of black and a little bit of white, and I'm just going to take my palette knife and just like literally smear that around till I get a dark gray. So see that dark gray happening right there? And that is what I want. I want that dark gray. Okay. Now I'm going to go off to another palette, because you do not want, when you're using a palette knife, and some people either love a palette knife or you hate a palette knife. And a lot of people don't love it. So like I said, if you don't want to do this stuff, it's perfectly fine. But what I do is I get my color, and then I go off to a whole nother palette, and I tap, 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 just like this, to get that kind of thin on my palette knife. I do not want a clumpy base on my palette knife, because if you do, you will have a mess all over this project, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the edge of my palette. Now, if you ordered a kit from me, yours are plastic, and it might be flat. You could even do this with a credit card if you wanted to. So if you don't have a palette knife, credit cards work great. I used credit cards for years before I bought a palette knife to get this effect. So what you do is you just take, and you're literally going to just take and slide that flat edge along the edge, and I'm barely pressing down, and I'm just sliding my palette knife all the way around, not across the top of the art, because if you do it across the top of the art, you are going to mess it up. But see how it's giving it that rough, textured feel? And I'm going back to my palette, tap, 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 where I tap my palette knife off to start with, because it's thinner. And then I'm going to go back down the sides, just like this. And I think I went over one of my dots, but I'll fix that in a minute. And you're just going to basically go around the edges of your project. You do not want to do the top, because you will mess it up. You will smear everything. And I'm just going around the edges with this palette knife. Okay? And it's giving it that rustic look. And rustic's in. Farmhouse is in. Thanks, Brenda. Yeah, I'm all about the details. I love the details. Oh, good, Anne. So you got the swoopy on the nose. Yay. So you got your highlights on his nose. Like this little area right here, I don't know if you see it. I got a little too much paint there, so I'm going to go back and get me some white and try to get my gray color back. And I'm going to try to go back over that and fix it just a little bit. But y'all, you can do anything. And sometimes you just decide, art is about whatever mistakes you decide to keep and which ones to get rid of. That's just my motto. Sometimes I'll do something, I'm like, oh, that looks good, and I didn't even mean to do it. So it's all about, I'm kind of liking this white, this lighter gray going over the top of that. That looks good too. So, I mean, just whatever happens. I really wasn't liking that deep gray right there, but kind of liking the way that happened. So, yeah, you just decide which mistakes you want to keep and which ones to get rid of. That's just how it works. So let me go back and get this straightened up. Okie dokie. Yes, I love the texture too, Anne. It just gives it that finished look. I just like it so much. I'm so into this palette knife art. I fell in love with it. But like I said, not everybody likes it. I'm going to go on and do the sides too, you guys. So see how I'm just rubbing that palette? And there's hardly no paint on my palette knife. But see how it's giving you that textured feel? No, I do not seal, Barbara. I do not seal the wood first. You can sand it if you don't have a smooth surface. But no, I do not seal it. I'm just painting on plain wood. Are you? Let's see. No, I don't seal it. You can seal it afterwards if you want to seal it. Generally, I mean, I will seal my pieces with, and I use a polyacrylic. Did I bring that with me? Because if I did, I did. Perfect. Okay, so here you go. Let me move this back out. I do use, once you're done, if you want to use this is Minwax polyacrylic. It is a acrylic based, I think. It's water based, easy cleanup. Matte, I use clear matte. I don't use a gloss simply just because I don't like gloss on some of my pieces. But I use this to seal it after it's fully dry. And a lot of times I will let my art sit overnight before I seal. Unless I'm in a huge hurry and I'm doing a show and I'm really pushing it to the edge. I'll hair blow it and then I'll seal it. But generally the paint needs to cure overnight before you seal it. I just think it turns out better. Okay. Oh, good, Ruth. I'm glad you like the palette knife. Yeah, either you like the palette knife, either you like it or you hate it. I've had so many people say, I'm putting the spatula down because they just don't like it. So, but I'm glad you're liking it. I've grown to love it. I love the palette knife. It's my thing. Okay, and I see a place I missed on the top. Okay. Alrighty, let me go back in here and get some more. Okay, now, alrighty, so we have, our hats are pretty much getting dry, I guess. Is yours getting dry? I hope so. But I'm gonna scoot on and start doing some of the glittering technique. So let me go ahead and show you how I draw. I'm using a script liner here, okay? And I'm gonna get some white. And the key to using the glitter is you need to do it while the paint is wet. So you're gonna need another separate palette, blank palette with nothing on it, no paint on it. And that's what you're gonna dump your glitter in. So, and I always put my glitter, I save everything, y'all, especially with art supplies in such scarce amounts these days. I save my art supplies. So once I get done, I will literally bend the plate and put it back in the bottle. So, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna paint your design first, then we're gonna glitter on top of the wet paint, and then you'll shake it off, okay? So I'm gonna do this one real quick, and I'm gonna do this slow because I'm gonna basically show you how I draw the snowflakes on the hat. So this might be a little tedious for those of you who are not big time drawers. And I did not put this on the traceable, but mainly because even if you trace it on there, you're gonna get graphite all over the place. So, and you'll mess up the hat. So I figured I would just try to draw this step for you. If you don't wanna do the snowflakes, do the end of the brush technique and just do dots. It'll give it the same effect, and you can glitter those too. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw one of these snowflakes. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a circle. And when I'm drawing, I think in shape. So think in shape. It's just a circle. Everybody can draw a circle, or they can almost draw a circle. And then you're going to, and I'm using a thin brush here to do this, okay? So I'm making my paint, again, soupy enough that it makes a consistency that it's not too thin. And I drew my circle, and I'm gonna draw one line here. And snowflakes, I always do them very symmetrical. You're gonna do a line over here, and then you're gonna do a line here, and then you're gonna do a line here. Kind of like you're making a cross, okay? And then, and I'm making this snowflake kind of big, and then I'm gonna draw one out this way, a little bit shorter, and one out this way, a little bit shorter, and one out this way. I'm just drawing straight lines here, guys. It's not that hard, I promise. Okay, now, to make the pretty snowflake, think of another shape. A V. Everybody can draw the letter V. So we're gonna do a V here and a V here, and then another V here. Okay? So and we're gonna do the same thing to the opposite side. V, V, V. And then on this side, same thing, V, V, V. Okay, and this one's kind of running off the hat a little bit, and that's how I want it. And I'm gonna put a little dot in the center. And I'm just gonna put some straight lines, 1, 2, and a dot, 1, 2, and a dot. Same thing. It has to be symmetrical on either side, okay? So there we go. Snowflake is made. It's wet. So we're gonna now I love this glitter right here. It's called Deco Art Glamour Dust, okay? It's wonderful stuff. So I'm gonna pour over my wet. While it's wet, I'm just sprinkling loose glitter, just like that, and I'm gonna thump it off, okay? Look, Now, when it dries, I'll take a dry brush, a whole new dry brush, and I'll just wipe that excess glitter off. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna kind of push that glitter out the way, and I'm gonna keep tapping it like that, just like that, to get the excess glitter off. Okay, and put my palette aside, and I'm gonna draw me another snowflake. Let me see if y'all got any questions here, because this is, see here. Oh, I'm out of the frame. Sorry, what did you not see? I hope y'all saw that glitter technique. I'll do that again. Okay, so, okay, I think I'm back in. Yes, I am. Okay, so I'll do that again. I hope y'all didn't miss that, but I'm gonna do that again. Okay, so we're gonna draw another snowflake, a little tiny snowflake over here. I'm gonna put one right here. Same thing, just do a cross. Well, my paint, see, when your brush has too much water on it, it will bleed. So you just dot it with a paper towel. Oh, you saw it, Tammy? Good, I'm sorry. We saw the whole snowflake, it's okay. Good, I'm glad. I thought maybe I was out of the frame on that, okay. All right, so anyway, we're doing the snowflake again. I'm doing another one right here, and I'm doing a cross, okay? So basically, straight up cross. Then you're gonna do an X in the center, okay? And then this one, I'm just gonna put one V, and then we're gonna go to the top, and we're gonna do a V there. I didn't get that perfect. And then we're gonna do a V here, okay? And then I'm going to put little dots, dot, and I'm gonna do dots everywhere around this edge. Okay, now wet paint again. It's very important that the paint is wet, and I'm gonna go right here, dump the glitter on top of the wet paint, and then I'm gonna let it sit there for 2 seconds, shake it around, then thump it off. And then, voila. Can y'all see the glitter on there? This is good. If you missed that, I have Glamour Dust. This is what I'm using, Glamour Dust. If you've ordered a kit from me, you have your Glamour Dust, and it's in your kit. No, I just dropped the brush. Okay. And we're gonna do the very same thing up here to the top. And you know, this, if you don't want to do these fancy little snowflakes, just do something simple. You don't have to do this complicated. Just do an X and dot, dot, dot. You know, don't make it complicated. That one was a little thick. I'm not really happy about that one, but I'm gonna glitter it anyway. It'll be fine. And I'm just gonna pump that off. Okay, and I'm gonna make me a tinier one right off here to the side. And I need to put one right over here somewhere, or something over here. A lot of times I'll use dots for fillers. So if you don't have it centered or something, just use some dots for fillers and make it fill in. So we're gonna go another cross. I hope you can see me. Yes, you can. Okay, and I'm just putting little tiny dots all the way around. Okay, and then I'm going to put more glitter on top of that one. Shake it off. Okay, and I'm gonna put one down here, another small snowflake right here. Okay, and then we're gonna put more glitter, and then I'm gonna flip it over and bump the back. or if you want to thump the top corner, however you want to do it. Now, I'm going to do the very same thing over here on this pom-pom because my pom-pom has glitter too. So I'm going to get some more white paint. And I don't want to do too terribly much because I don't want to lose my shading effect, but I'm just going to do enough to wetten, is that a word? Wet the area so that I can put the glitter on here to make it pop. And I'm just doing it just enough, not a lot, because you don't want to lose that shading in the background. Okay? Alrighty. Now, that's wet, so we're gonna pour glitter all on top of the pom-pom. Shake it around, thump it off, and voila. Now, and you've got, I don't know if you can see it, it's really pretty, and when it's on a tree, y'all, it just glistens. It's so gorgeous. So I love this glitter. So if you don't have any, go buy some. It's wonderful. I can't remember. I think I bought this from Michael's. You could probably find it online on Amazon. I'm not real sure where I've got that from. I know I bought AC Moore out. We had an AC Moore that went out of business, and I bought a ton of it when it went out of business. So thank you, Barbara. Let's see, who else? Thank you, Nan. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yes, I love that. Don't you love it, Lindsay? It's just wonderful. It is just the most wonderful stuff. Oh, I haven't tried the diamond dust. I will have to try that. The glitter is what makes it. I put glitter on almost all of my ornaments. Almost all of them, if I'm not using gold paint. Okay, let me see here. Now, we're going to put some highlights on the shoes to give them a little shine because he needs shiny shoes. So I'm just rolling my liner brush again, doing the same effect we did on the nose. We're going to do it on top of the feet. So I'm just going to start right here and dot, and start right here and dot. And I had too much water on my brush, but oh well, it's no big deal. What I'll do is let that dry for a second, and then we'll go in with black paint and touch that up. If you get it too wide, like I said with acrylic, you can always, it's very, very forgiving. You can paint over if you mess up. That's the one good thing about acrylic, is you can always paint over. So if you screw up, just paint over it. Start over. That's what I love about it. Okay. Now, the last thing, let me see here. Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda. You'll find, you can always just wait and not do that part, and when you get your glitter, you can do it. So it says, can you use a fine glitter? Yeah, you can use a fine glitter. Fine glitter does work. You might want to test it on something before you do it because it may not have the same glisten as that glamour dust, but okay. All right, let me slide back into the camera here. I think I'm getting out of here. All right, so now we're gonna outline him. I think I've got everything done. I'm kind of assessing it here. We're gonna go and start outlining him, and you can outline this with a script liner, or if you have a Sharpie and you'd like to use a fine Sharpie works really, really good for outlining. I'll start doing this because I can always paint over it. And outlining my art, I'm a big outliner on my art because it just makes it pop. So if you want to try to use a Sharpie, you can do that. You know what? Maybe the other medium tip would work better. But you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but the outline. But I'm going to use paint. But some people don't have a steady hand for a liner brush to do outlining with a liner brush. So I thought I'd tell you, if you don't feel comfortable with the brush, just go with the Sharpie. But I should have, even in the art kits, I put in a fine line brush, or it has a tip. And what you're gonna do is make sure you get that water kind of, dip your brush in the water, get the soupy effect going, roll the brush, get that fine tip so that you'll have a fine line tip, okay? And then we're gonna go in here, and I'm just gonna start at the top of the hat. I'm not gonna start doing his pom-pom just yet. I hope you guys can see me. And I'm going to just start outlining in black. And when I pick up my brush, I typically, this is just one of my little signature things I do. I'll do a dot, dot, and then I'll go back and start dragging that line again. Wherever I picked up my brush, I just put a dot. Just so it, if it doesn't meet, it doesn't matter. If you want to do the straight line, it's fine. Okie dokie. I'm still in the frame. Everybody's still good here. Okay, and I'm just gonna, all right, now I did go into the hat just a little bit right there, because that's where the creases are creasing in the hat. That's why I'm doing this, okay? I'm giving those creases like some dimension. You're just kind of detailing it out. And you can just throw one like wherever you think it should be creasing, okay? All right, and then I'm gonna go around the nose. Dot, dot. Another little dot. Okay. And now I'm going to go on the beard, and I'm gonna work this way. I'm not sure who told me this. It might have been Lindsay, but it's best to work left to right if you're right-handed, just so you don't put your hand in your work. All right, with the beard, you're gonna do stroke, little faint stroke, little wisp. You're not gonna do anything heavy here. And like I said, if you don't feel comfortable using the script liner, use a Sharpie and just draw it out, so you don't totally, you know, glob it up, you know, with a paintbrush, because it is tricky using a script liner. And again, what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of water. I'm gonna put my palette back in here for a second, because I know this it's hard to get that fine line. So what I'm doing is I'm getting my paint a little soupy, and I'm dragging my brush out just like this so that I get that excess paint off. And I'm dragging out little wisp. And you press in, pull out, just like I said earlier in the class, where you press in and pull out. You're lifting your brush, kind of a feathered effect. You do not want to press in too deep here, because if you do, you'll have a mess. Okay. And I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go around his belly, outline that area, and then we're going to outline this area. And I'm just going between the beard, because you don't want to paint over where we whisked the beard in. Okie dokie. Alrighty. Now, we do have to go back and get this part of the hat up here, so I'm going to go in real carefully. Oh, and another thing I do, I'm sorry I'm not telling you this, and somebody's probably commenting and I'm not watching, but I use, to anchor my hand, I normally will take my pinky finger and I will anchor my pinky, just like this. I'll anchor it, and then I'll use that as an anchor to keep my hand steady. And that does help when you're trying to do detailing. So if you'll anchor your pinky, just like if you notice how my hand is, you see my pinky's out, that is helping me hold my paintbrush in a steady position. So sometimes I do anchor. I will anchor my hand down with a pinky. And sometimes I won't, but I just thought I'd tell you that because it is helpful. because a lot of, or you can anchor your wrist, you know, just however. It's kind of a wrist action that I'm using, I'm not pressing like you're writing with a pencil, because using a script liner is not like writing with a pencil at all. And I'm just giving this pom-pom just some, I'm not even going into the center of the pom-pom, because that's where you put the glitter. And if you put wet paint on a glitter, it is going to bleed and spread. So try to stay on that outer edge to get this detailing. Okay? All right, and I need to go in here because I did not detail this hat out. Right here. Okay. And I think that is it. We let it dry. I don't think I'm missing anything. Y'all tell me if I am. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, Ruth, that's right. Yeah, that ultra fine Sharpie. I don't think where did I put that Sharpie? Yeah, this is the ultra fine Sharpie that I used just now. And those, you can find those at Walmart or anywhere. These Sharpies are pretty good too. They're good for the first few writings with them. The tip gives you a pretty good line, but it's a thicker line. So I like the ultra thin. Okay, I think that is everything except what we're gonna do now is, well, you have to sign your art. So you need to sign your name in the corner or wherever you want to put it. And I'm just going to use a Sharpie because that's going to be fast. And I got to fix that bubble right there. But I'll do that after the fact. You can use a Sharpie, or you can use a paint pen, or you can try to do it with a script liner, whichever one you want to do. But if I can write with a paint pen or a Sharpie to sign my work, I will so do it. So, okay, so that's that. Now, how are we coming, girls? Y'all good? Can you use a Pigma micro pen? You might can, as long as it's not wet. Anything that's pigmented, what do you call it? Permanent ink, you can use. I use a lot of permanent ink stuff. There's another one I like to use, and it's made by Jerry. I get these from Jerry's Artorama. I can post this in the comments once I get done. This is a Zig Artist Sketching Pen. This is a permanent marker too. It's made by Kuretake. I like to outline with this too. I even use these on my glass ornaments. The ones that I do with the paint pens. And I know Lindsay taught a class with that. But if you want to know, if you look at my glass ornaments that I paint, I don't know that I have any on my website right now, but I know I've got them on my Instagram. You can see them. But I used to paint people ornaments a lot, and I would use those paint pens that Lindsay was talking about in her class, the Deco Art pens, and I use those artist sketch pens is what I outline with. So they're great, and it does not come off. It's permanent ink, and it will stay on. So, Carmen, has it been? Oh, good. I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Cynthia. Let's see here. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to put on our ribbons. And the way we have to do that is, of course, we have to put in this eye screw. Now, I use a drill at home. I have a tiny drill bit. I cannot even tell you the size of the drill bit because I'm not good with all that sizing stuff. But it's a very fine tip drill bit that I use to just drill a little tiny hole right here at the top, and then I'll screw my eye screw in. But these eye screws, if you press hard enough, if you bought a kit from me, you don't have to do this step. It's already done for you. But I press really hard and I go back and forth just like this to make a divot. Okay? And then okay. And I'm going to screw it in. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I'm working really hard here. All right, there we go. All right, now what I'm going to do is I am going to take, I have this little mini screwdriver in here. Let me get that real quick. And I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm just going to use it to roll around. Can you guys see me? I hope so. All right, yes, I am just literally taking the screwdriver and using it to twist this eye screw in, okay? There we go, and it is in. Boom, we're done. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take all of these ribbons that you have, and the ones that you guys that got a kit, they were already tied together. But what I do is I take one small ribbon. I have 3 ribbons here. And you're going to tie a knot just like this. Okay? And then I'm going to take another one and I'm going to cross it right on over the top. And I'm going to tie it, and I'm going to tie a knot. Well, not a knot, but I'm just going to do one twist, okay? Just like this. So you've got your bow. And all I did was just literally lay those ribbons together and tie these 2 on top, okay? And then you're going to take the one ribbon, one of the long ribbons, and you're going to run it through that eye screw, through the front. And then you're going to tie it at the top. And then you're going to knot it. Okay? And then you've got this cute little ribbon at the top. And you just fan it out to make it pretty. Okay? And then the other thing I do is I take these curly hooks, these little curly hooks. And I included these in your kits too. They were taped to the top of one of your paint bottles. And you just run it through the top. I just hooked it through the top, and then I press this shut, and then it's ready to hang on a Christmas tree. So anyway, there's your gnome painting. I hope y'all enjoyed my class. I know I went over, I'm sure I did, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you so much for participating. I hope you'll use this tutorial to share with your family and friends and get together, drink some cocoa, watch some Christmas movies, and have a fun time making ornaments for Christmas. It's a great thing to do for gifts. Homemade gifts are the way to go this year since we can't really get out and shop. So I hope you'll embrace that. And if you have any questions, you want to message me, feel free. I'll be glad to answer any questions that I didn't answer in this class. Thank you again, Lindsay, for asking me to be a part of this. I really appreciate it, and it's been so much fun. I hope you all had a good time. Thanks so much. Y'all have a good night.